We just answered a very key question. Is American democracy up for sale? And the answer is yes. Playing the market. This is market manipulation. This is corruption of the worst order. I call it, the war grift. War as a grift. It's rigged. It's all rigged. 100%.
And now in the White House, they're just playing. They're playing a rigged lottery. It is. Hello, Garland Nixon here with Scott Ritter, and there's lots going on. AIPAC's defeated Massey. Trump's doing his bi-weekly threat to obliterate Iran. Let's talk. Hello, Garland Nixon here with the one and only Scott Ritter. And of course, you probably know about his website, scottritter.com. We will introduce you to that in case you don't know a little bit later on. But right now, we got lots of stuff to talk about. You know, I was interviewed this morning and asked about it. And I said, to me, it's like a Bernie Sanders moment, because in 2016, I was a Democrat and I thought, okay, well, whoever runs, blah, blah, blah. And then they just like completely stole it from Bernie Sanders. And I'm like, I'm out of here. This place is, they are not practicing democracy here. And it was all downhill from there for the Democratic Party. But I think, there are a lot of people in the Republican Party who are going to look at this and say, well, number one, AIPAC money. Number two, I think a lot of people are saying, I don't trust the machines. I don't trust the system. How this happen? And your thoughts on the whole AIPAC coming in, and they're literally on Israeli television talking about it. Yes, our guy won and all that kind of stuff. Your thoughts, Scott Ritter. And of course, that's Maverick.
Yeah, I was told not to read the comments, but in the lead up, people are asking about Maverick. So
hey, doing here, Maverick?
Maverick is full of ideas and opinions. He's fully briefed me on everything. So I will be giving you the world according to Maverick.
There we go.
You'll hear the barking in the background. But look, we just answered a very key question. Is American democracy up for sale? And the answer is yes. We now know that. But I'm with you. I think this has the potential. Look, my specialty, just so everybody understands, is geopolitical, military, intelligence, things of that nature. I have on purpose avoided domestic American politics because that never was my thing. I joined the Army out of high school to go kill Russians. Then I graduated the Marine Corps so I could kill them more efficiently. And I've been doing military-related stuff. But the closest I came to domestic politics was being a firefighter. Because, when you become a firefighter, especially a volunteer, you become the guardian of your community. And you learn everything about the community. That's where I learned to really appreciate America, because, as a military guy, you're defending something. But I grew up overseas. My dad I went to high school in Turkey and Germany. What do I know about America? I just wanted to defend it. But when I became a volunteer firefighter, I learned everything about this community, the good, the bad, the ugly. If you want to know where the drunks are, responding 3 a.m. to the DWIs, you'll find out. You want to know where the abused spouses are. You want to know where the people who try to do home abortions are. You learn everything. You also learn all the good stuff too, how communities come together and help one another. But that was my appreciation. But running for office and seeking political office has never been a passion of mine, and so I've always viewed this on the periphery. But with Donald Trump, you're sort of forced to take a look at the state of play in the United States today. First of all, you have to ask yourself, how did this come to be? How did Donald Trump become president? Well, the answer is because enough people like me voted for him. That's the bottom line. I hated Donald Trump the moment he came down the escalator. I despised the man. You know how much I hate John McCain, or hated John McCain. No use for him at all. But when Donald Trump, mocked him because of his status as a prisoner of war, I said Donald Trump's a scum personified. I've had my problems with the American court system and ongoing controversy over, judicial abuse. And I know that it is corrupt as the day is long. But when Donald Trump went after a federal judge because he was Hispanic, that was it. Because he's Hispanic. I said, you're not American. This is you're the scum of the earth. It just so happens that geopolitics intervened, and I've talked about it before about the danger of nuclear war and how Donald Trump sadly was the only politician in the field that was articulating against nuclear war. Turns out he was lying and grifting and conning and all this kind of stuff. But hey, when you're voting, you go with that. You have to go with what the people are saying. Joe Biden, we're ready to have a nuclear war by the end of 2024. Donald Trump, I don't want a nuclear war. I'll go with don't want a nuclear war. I'll take number 3, please. But we've been disappointed, and so then you reflect on, how this came to be. And there's 2 things. One is factionalism. And the thing about factionalism is you don't need money. Factionalism is about ideas. Now, there's a danger to factionalism. That's what James Madison wrote about in Federalist Number 10. We don't want to avoid factionalism, but you want to avoid populism. You remember, I forget who the guy talked about a cross of gold, Bryant, I think, Williams Jennings Bryant. He was a populist, and his ideas were okay. But the point is, populism exists based upon emotions, and countries don't survive based upon emotions. We survive based upon institutions. And so, this is why we have a constitution. This is where I've learned to get this deep appreciation of the institution of the Constitution. And yet what we see here is that MAGA came in with zero appreciation of the Constitution whatsoever. Zero. Just straight up, there's not a single MAGA person out there that can articulate the Constitution in any cognitive fashion. They like Donald Trump. This is what we voted for. This is what I voted for. Constitution exists, Second Amendment. They don't even understand the constitutionality of the Second Amendment. They just know, I got guns. I want guns, and then freedom of speech. I'm all for it. Freedom of speech, but you don't understand the complexities behind it, how it came to be. There's no appreciation of the Constitution and therefore the institutions that are supposed to preserve the Constitution. But MAGA came sweeping in, and that's how Donald Trump got to be president. But MAGA was, the important part of MAGA is America. Make America great. And even if these people don't have, what would say is a historically accurate appraisal of what America is, they understood that America is in their hearts. What they conceive America to be is in their hearts. And they were voting to preserve that which was in their heart, not understanding the reality of the constitutional institutions and all that. But what's important here is that they have this base has grown increasingly frustrated with the fact that America has stopped being MAGA and we've become MIGA, make Israel great again. And this is the fatal mistake of those who went after Thomas Massie. I mean, first of all, let me say this about Thomas Massie. I don't know the guy. I regret now. I've had opportunities in the past where people have said, Scott, we'd like to be on a panel with Thomas Massie or to be an event where he was there. And had Thomas Massie been a military guy, I would have been there in a heartbeat. But it was political, and I'm just like, I'm not comfortable with the politics. Not his politics. I'm just not comfortable with politics in general. I didn't want to get painted with that brush. I regret it now because Thomas Massie is from a small rural district in Kentucky where there are no pharmaceuticals, there's no defense industry, there's just Americans. Homebred Americans of the most basic kind. And I don't mean that bad. I mean,
yes,
you are American. These are people who wake up in the morning and work their asses off to get a paycheck that the government rips off with taxes, and they're left with very little bit of money to care for a family. And every day is a struggle for them to care for their family, but they have family values. They believe in family. They believe in America. They believe in the potential of America, the hope of America, the dream of America. And Thomas Massie was elected by these people to be their voice. And these are honest people. That's the important thing. They're honest, hardworking people. And Thomas Massie's job when he got to Congress was to represent them. So when he saw bullshit taking place, he called it out. And that's his constituents said, that's what we voted for. That's what we want. We want a guy who's honest, who has integrity. And 14 years he was in. He's been around, causing trouble because he tells the truth. Thomas Massie became the personification of what American democracy should be. A representative with a direct link to the people whose vote represents the will of the people, not the will of special interests who have bought him off. Thomas Massie did not sell his soul to Israel or any special interest. Now, is Thomas Massie perfect? Garland, I'm here to tell you and everybody in your audience, there's no such thing as the perfect human being. Doesn't exist. I could swear I could take anybody and just start digging through your closet and go, oop, 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 oop. And you'd be like, I didn't want you to know about that. It's called life, people. Life jumps up and bites you in the ass over and over and over and over again. And because we're humans, we make stupid mistakes, dumb mistakes, and all that stuff. That doesn't define us. It just means that we're stupid humans sometimes. Did Thomas Massey do things in his life that, maybe most of us on a perfect day would say, maybe not? I don't know. Because we also know that people lie, they smear, they exaggerate, they put out kill pieces and all that stuff. But my point is, I don't care. I could care less about Thomas Massey's personal life, especially if the people who are attacking him are promoting Donald Trump as the alternative. If you want to talk about a man who has failed every personal test of integrity and moral consistency, it's Donald Trump. Okay, again. I personally don't care. That's between him and whoever else he's having a relationship with. But the hypocrisy of people going, Thomas Massey may have done X, Y, and Z, and therefore Donald Trump. Wait, what? Because whatever you've accused Thomas Massey of pales in significance to what Donald Trump has done. And then they bring Pete Hegseth, violation of the Hatch Act, by the way, and again, Pete Hegseth. The paragon of that's alcoholic, philandering, womanizing piece of shit comes in and says he's going to go against Thomas Massey, the voice of the people. But ultimately, this was the most expensive race. Money was poured in on behalf of Israel. And that's what this was all about. This was all about Israel. And now we come back to MAGA and the factionalism. This was fatal to MAGA. Absolutely fatal. See, the idiots think that they got out Thomas Massey, the voice of the people. No, what they did is prove that Israel controls America, that Israel can buy Congress, and Israel is buying Congress. The last congressional cycle, AIPAC bragged about having $100 million that they were using to buy control of Congress. Well, they couldn't buy control of Thomas Massey, but now they've poured in money. I don't know what the total amount is, but I hear it's the most expensive race in American history for a House race to buy an election. And we've answered the question, even in a district where you have good Americans, who voted for Thomas Massey, they can be bought off. And they were bought off with Israeli money. Israeli money went in there and things are happening and we lost an election. There will be a rebellion against this. The American people are waking up because this is a wake-up call. If Israel can buy off Thomas Massey's district, there's not a district in America they can't buy off. There's not a district in America that Israel can't buy off. Now, 60% of Americans, according to latest polling, say they're against this. Well, why didn't Thomas Massey win the election by 60 to 40 then? Because money. Ultimately, the bottom line is people are able to close their eyes to things, turn away from things if there's money involved. Bill Clinton sort of hinted at this, 1992, the war room. It's the economy, stupid. And the economy isn't some sort of abstract thing where you have Keynesian people up there to put this, that, and the other. The economy is what's in your damn wallet. That's the economy. That's the only economy Americans care about. What's in my wallet? What's in my bank account? When the bills come, can I pay the bills? Can I take mama out and take her to dinner, make mama happy? Can I buy baby a new pair of shoes? That's it. Roof, food, existential stuff. And it comes down to money. So the economy is how much money people have. Israel understands this. And Israel has found direct and indirect ways because there's many people out there that may not realize that Israel bought them off. But, you have direct and indirect, and democracy was for sale. I think that the American people are going to wake up because really what we have right now, this isn't something done in isolation. Normally when Israel buys a congressman, it's done in the shadows. And it can be hidden. Like I said, we can have indirect ways of covering up. We're in the middle of a war that was started by Israel, for Israel. That's it. I mean, Marco Rubio was honest when he said, yeah, we went to work as Israel asked us to go to war. Really? And we're continuing because Israel wants us to continue it. That's it. That's the only reason why we did it. It's not about Iran's nuclear program. That was solved. It's not about Iran's ballistic missiles. They never threatened us. They threatened Israel. It's not about the oil because, hell, the oil was flowing until we decided to bomb. It's about Israel, pure and simple. America has destroyed itself. And again, the American people, it's going to wake up. What's happened in China, the humiliation of the United States, the isolation of the United States, all of this is representative of the failure of the Trump administration, and the root cause of that failure is that they have sold out to Israel. American democracy was for sale. Donald Trump sold the White House. The Congress was bought a long time ago. And now we know that the American people can be bought too. This has to change. And I think it will.
Let me show you this. Here's the numbers. Okay, look at the ages. 17. Everybody 55 and under. It was a blowout. Look at 26 to 35, plus 56%, plus 30. I mean, it was a massive blowout. 56 and up, the people that are watching Fox News night and day, that's where the numbers came from, which tells you about the future of politics, the future of the Republican Party, the future of America. And that is, people don't want to put up with that crap. And of course, everybody knows. The other thing that's interesting is I was looking on Twitter, I was looking on Instagram, and what I hear over and over is it was rigged, it's stolen, it's rigged, it's stolen, it's rigged, it's stolen. Here's the other thing that's going on. People are losing what's the word? Confidence in the traditional institutions. Look at the media. The number, nobody trusts the media. Congress, 84 or 86, I think 86% disapproval for Congress. People are looking at the media, all the traditional institutes, and saying they let us down. Not only do they not work for us, they're stabbing us in the back. And this is like, revolutionary period where people start saying, hey, we've had enough. Our government does not support us. There were people that were saying, we've got to make sure people have ID, or people talking about the Supreme Court ruling on the voting and all these kind of things. That's about the process. Here's what we're seeing. Damn the process. They have chosen who they want. You can get all the voting that you want. You can do all of that. You can get everything pure, everything perfect. But in the end, they're going to give you two people to choose from. And those people have been arguing about who loves Israel the most and who'll start the next war and who'll stand up to Putin and Xi and all this. So in the end, you all think this exercise that people are losing, people are saying, I've lost faith in voting because in the end, there's just no, I'll put it like this. A lot of people felt like there was no way Massey was going to win this, if you know what I'm saying.
No, I mean, but it's sad. I mean, but we know there's exceptions to the rules. For instance, the New York City mayor, and I'm not here to articulate in favor of his policy. I'm not doing that. I'm just saying that there's a man who had the courage. I mean, he got my attention when in one of those New York City debates, and New York City is home of Israeli money. All right. And the Israeli money manifests itself in many different ways. I mean, I'll just say something that's very controversial, but if you don't think Israeli money manipulates the black vote in America, you don't understand Israeli money. You don't understand the relationship between Israeli money and traditional Southern black political leadership, who every 4 years are supposed to mobilize the black voters to support the Democratic candidate. And then after that, the Democrats turn their back on them and let them, and abandon them. It's a constant cycle of betrayal. But every 4 years, Israeli money gets pumped into the race, and boom, there it is. And they do it to everybody. I mean, the pro-Israeli money does there. Here we have in New York City, which is home of Israeli money, Mamdani or Mamdani or
whatever. Yeah. Mamdani, I think.
I mean, I don't mean to be insulting. I apologize. I'm not being anti, Islam or anything. I can't pronounce certain names, and that's one of them I'm not doing good with. But the mayor of New York City, we know who he is. That when he was candidate, was asked, everybody's asked, what's the first trip you're going to make? And everybody went, my first trip's going to be to Israel. You're running for mayor of New York. My first trip's going to be to Israel. What's your number one priority? My number one priority is the security of Israel. No, your number one priority is the security of the citizens of New York. And Mamdani said, no, I ain't going to Israel. My first trip's going to go down to the boroughs and talk to the people, find out what they need. What can I do to help them? And I went, at last, somebody got it. Somebody got it. Because, again, we just have to be straight up honest. If Israel was erased from the face of the earth today, I'm not advocating for that too much, but if they were erased from the face of the earth today, our lives would not change at all. Israel has zero impact on the day-to-day life of Americans. And don't tell me, oh, well, if you're Jewish, you're losing the Jewish homeland. No, American Jews existed long before the Zionistic enterprise called Israel was created in 1948. Okay? Israel did not serve as the center of the Jewish faithful for millennia because it didn't exist. This is an artificial creation, artificial state put out there that's been politicized now. But the day-to-day activity, your ability to worship as a Jew, will not be impacted with the erasure of Israel, because Israel's not about anything other than, money and power and control and dominance. It's not about the Jewish faith. Hell, the vast majority of the people who live in Israel are secular. They're not practicing Jews. The Orthodox don't want to fight for Israel because religious talk. But at last a guy got it. And one of the reasons why Mamdani won is because of the youthful vote. I think the problem with Kentucky is that too many old people sitting around in a rocking chair sipping moonshine and, chewing on a hayseed and watching Fox News. I mean, that's the only audience for mainstream media nowadays. Look at the demographics. Find me a kid that watches mainstream media today. Yeah, I know there's a bunch of, white young Republicans out there that are addicted to Fox News, but the demographics are all old people. And we're dying off. We ain't going to be here forever. I mean, so, you're right. The wave of the future is the youth who, per that polling, see the truth. And that's why what we're doing and what you're doing is so very important, because this is the alternative to mainstream media. This is where people get their news and their information. And it has an impact. But I think, we're looking at a situation where this was maybe the last stand of MAGA, because, it doesn't get worse than this. It doesn't get worse than this. You took a popular guy who was literally, doing what was right for his constituents, and you bought him off. Now, I don't know what promises were made. I don't know what, but, money was poured in, and you don't pour in that kind of money. And it'd be interesting if you could, put some sort of tracer on the money, and how like if you handle money, you get like little markers on your fingers, and people could come in and see if you handled the money. I'd love to be able to do that politically and find out where this money went in Kentucky. See who got enriched by this, because they were bought off. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah, and people are losing confidence in the system and the institutions, and so people are furious. All right, April 7th, Donald Trump says 48 hours, or else Iran or they're going to get it. April 15th, I already looked. 48 hours is all Iran's got, right? So the other days, I'm an hour away from now I'll give them 2 days, maybe this weekend. 48 hours, I guess, is the number that he likes or whatever. Doesn't he realize he's making himself look like a fool? That like every couple days, he's going to give them 5 days, then it's 4, then it's 12, then it's 3, then it's 5, then it's 3. I don't know that he's not going to attack again, but I look at it and I'm like, I don't know how the hell they're going to do it. Maybe that's theoretically possible, but anyway, Scott, you get where I'm going. Your thoughts on this madness, this absolute madness.
Well, again, I've said it once, I'll say it again. Standard geopolitical analysis does not apply to Donald Trump. Because, first of all, standard geopolitical analysis is founded on a framework that's predicated on rational thinking. And Donald Trump is an irrational character. Now, I know there's going to be the supporters out there. He's playing 5D chess. He's doing this. He's doing that. No. Donald Trump has a very simplistic idea that it has nothing to do. This is what people need to understand. Nothing Donald Trump does has anything to do with the country, the people, or anything. All those people out there saying he's doing it because he really loves the people. Donald Trump doesn't love anybody but Donald Trump. That's it. Everything he does is to promote Donald Trump, to promote the brand of Donald Trump. Look at this sick ass person. I apologize for my language.
Yeah, but I'm with you.
Donald Trump believes that we saw that with the old, he's Jesus healing people, that meme where he's better than the Pope. That implies that he has some sort of biblical connection. Well, Donnie, baby, read the Bible and read what happened to the Jews every time they erected golden idols. And yet you simplistic, narcissistic son of a you-know-what, You erected a golden idol to yourself in Mar-a-Lago, and you brought in American religious leaders who then sang the praises of you. This is idolatry in the worst possible biblical way. I mean, this is the kind of stuff that if you were religious, you'd believe that the hand of God is going to smite us all because of this kind of crap. And it should. If there is a God, smite us all, because look what we've done. We are building golden idols to a man. We have a cult of personality. And now we understand why you can't apply traditional thinking. This is a guy who actually believes that his face should be on Mount Rushmore. This is a guy who is seeking to bribe Chuck Schumer to get his name on tunnels and bridges and other buildings. It's all about Donald Trump. That's it. He doesn't care about anything other than Donald Trump. So saying that, it's impossible to predict what he's going to do, because unless you're able to get inside the brain of a malignant narcissist, you're going to be like me going, because rationally speaking, we can't attack Iran. Rationally speaking, we've lost. I mean, again, I wish I were in the Senate, because I'd love to be able to cross-examine Bradley Cooper. I would have humiliated him. Actually, I would have had him putting 4 stars on the table and walking out after peeing his pants, because the lies he told, straight up lies he told about the effectiveness of the American military operation, documented lies, 100% lies, and yet he was allowed to say them with confidence, and they get picked up by the mainstream media and then get promoted on social media by the army of bots and pro-Trump people who promote these ideas. Andrei Ilnitsky, we met him. You met him, the former lieutenant general. He promotes something called mental warfare. And a key aspect of mental warfare is using various vectors to get into the brains of people, to destroy the brains from within, rot them, cause the collapse, which leads to societal collapse. And we're looking at the MAGA movement as a vector of mental warfare. I mean, what they're doing and promoting lies and dumbing things down, it's Orwellian in how they basically take the truth and go the exact opposite, and then people rally around that. This is happening. So this is what Trump is playing to. But realistically speaking, again, we don't know the exact numbers. What they're saying, 15,000 targets were struck. 15,000 in 37 days. They're saying that we destroyed, over 80% of Iran's ballistic missile capability. I'd like to know what the metrics are, because I can tell you about the Gulf War and the metrics there. I can tell you what happened near the end of the Gulf War when General Norman Schwarzkopf, 4 stars on his shoulder, got frustrated with the professional battle damage assessment people like me, who were saying, we're not destroying anything. Where the bombs are missing their target. We can't give you credit for kills that haven't taken place. Well, politically, he had to basically get that last green light up there, bringing the Iraqi forces down below 50%. Well, I couldn't do that by telling the truth. So the Air Force came out and said, okay, we're going to redo battle damage assessment. Instead of having a professional intelligence officer look at photographs and assess based upon all the data available, the type of munition used, the kind of blast effect expected to be seen, the effect of the building, et cetera. Instead of doing that to say, did we kill it or not, what we're going to do is we're going to say, for every X amount of bombs dropped, we've destroyed this percentage of the target. And there's a solution. You suddenly say, we dropped a whole bunch of bombs, and because of the algorithm, this is what we destroyed. When the war ended, I wanted to disprove that, because I'm just that way. I'm an asshole. I believe in the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. So I put out a proposal to go up to the Tawakana Division engagement area where the Battle of 73 Easting was fought, very famous battle. General McMaster cut his teeth on that one, and some others. And I was going to grid it out. We actually did grid it out, and we did a sample. The idea was to inspect every piece of equipment destroyed. And this is right after the war ended. It's still smoking. There's bodies still inside. And inspect it and determine what killed it. And then when that munition was dropped or fired, and build a complete database so we were 100% certain what happened on this piece of ground. And I came back with the initial, but just the initial take was the Army killed everything. The Air Force didn't kill anything. I was immediately detained on the orders of General Horner, who ran the air war. And I was put on the next airplane out of Saudi Arabia and flown home, because I was asking questions and doing things they didn't want. Guys, when I say that, I've been there, done that. I got the T-shirt. I've been there, I've done it. I've got the T-shirt. I did this for a living. I know how the system works. I can promise you, guarantee you with 100% certainty that we didn't destroy anything in Iran. Nothing. And that Bradley Cooper is lying because the way he got his numbers is the way Pete Hegseth sells it. Amount of tonnage dropped, amount of this, and therefore we achieved that. Then why are the Iranians building missiles today? The most advanced missiles able to be built. Why are they building them if we destroyed so much? Because I know enough about defense industry too and the impact of strategic air bombing because of my work in Iraq, where we carried out a strategic air campaign to do to Iraq what we're trying to do to Iran. And I know it didn't work in Iraq. And I know what happens if you degrade. If you degrade a defense capability by 80%, you don't reduce their production by 80%. Understand, to produce something, you need the system to work 100%. To produce something, the system has to work 100%. If you degrade it by 10%, they may not produce anything. Okay? If you degrade it by 80%, they damn sure aren't producing anything. So the fact that the Iranians are producing missiles means we didn't destroy their capability at all. They have 100% of their missile production capacity up and running and working. And, we have to acknowledge this because you have Bradley Cooper's statement. But then again, if I were questioned, I'd say, I bring the director of the CIA and I'd say, is Iran continuing to produce ballistic missiles? Because your numbers suggest that they've reconstituted. Yes, sir. We believe, they don't have to call me sir. Yes, Ritter, asshole. We believe that, Iran is continuing. Well, time out. How can Iran produce it if their missile stuff was reduced by 87%? Bring in your defense industrial specialist, the analyst that runs Iranian defense industry. You got that one, right? You didn't close that one down, or you are doing this kind of study, right? And you bring him in, you ask the question, you'll get the answers. Bradley Cooper lied. Now, he has 4 stores on his shoulder. He should know better than to lie like that, but he lies because that's all they do. That's all the Hegseth Pentagon does, is lie to the American people 24/7. And they're lying about every aspect of Iran. So now we come down to the realities. Iran controls the Strait of Hormuz, and they will always control the Strait of Hormuz because there's nothing we can do to stop them from controlling the Strait of Hormuz. End of story. Game, set, match. Iran wins. Iran's nuclear program will never come under American control because to come under American control, we either have to eliminate the regime, which we didn't do, and we made it stronger, actually, or physically occupy Iran, which we can't do. We lack the capacity to do. So we're not going to get that. Ballistic missiles, sorry, guys, I just told you. We didn't destroy any production. They're out there. They're making them. And if we make the move on them, now comes the big thing, because the secret here, the secret sauce that plays in here are the 3 phone calls that were allegedly made by the head of Saudi Arabia, Qatar, and the United Arab Emirates to the Trump administration. Were they called Trump directly or they went through Rubio? I don't know. And did they make it an hour before? No. They've been saying this over and over and over again. We will not support this attack. And this is the important part, guys. We will not support this attack because the moment you strike Iran, they destroy everything. You can't defend us. The moment you strike Iran, they destroy everything, and you can't defend us. The moment you attack Iran, they destroy everything, and you can't defend us. Therefore, we will not support this. This attack was never going to happen, Garland. This attack was never going to happen because we lack the capacity to achieve anything. The fact that, we have to lie about the destruction of what happened in 37 days, and in that process, we depleted our long-range precision strike weapons. We haven't replaced them. We have enough munitions to go for about a week. That's the word. Enough munitions to resume operations for a week. So the plan that was being put together by the Trump Pentagon, Pete Hegseth, the moron, is that we were going to go in hard. So the president could use the word hard. We're going in hard because Hegseth, we're going in hard. It means we're just going to repeat what already didn't work, which means we don't know what we're bombing. We're bombing things that have nothing in them, but a lot of pictures are going to go boom because every morning, the president was briefed on 20 minutes of war porn. Now, I don't know what he did with the war porn, if it actually turned him on and he asked for privacy, but we know that they brought in a video screen and he got to watch things go boom. And they said, see, Mr. President, we're doing a good job. And he went, oh my God, you're doing a great job. You're blowing everything up. You guys are awesome. And, the reality is we weren't blowing the right things up and weren't destroying, and the Iranians kept firing. They blew up all our facilities and embarrassed us, humiliated us. But that all the president cared about is things that go boom. So they were going to give him a week of things that go boom. And then we run out of ammo again. But the Iranians don't run out of ammo. They keep firing. The Iranians have made it clear. They just said so. They will continuously salvo missiles and drones every hour, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, until everything is destroyed. So there will be no salvo and surge. When this war starts, if we bomb, they will continuously, every hour, salvo, 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 every hour, 24 hours, 7 days a week, until everything is destroyed. That's their response. We have nothing. So when we run out, they keep coming and everything gets destroyed. I believe that people around Donald Trump have briefed him on this reality. I believe the generals have said, sir, we can't do this, because if we start this, we can't finish it. If we start it, we can't finish it. And then you really want us to start a war we're going to lose? We know we're going to lose? Sir, we're not wired that way. Let's not do this. So Trump, now we get to what's going on here. He's playing the market. Playing the market. This is market manipulation. This is corruption of the worst order. I call it, the war grift, war as a grift. And it's so blatant. I mean, even somebody as simplistic as me it's so blatant. How he will wait, the timing of it is all based upon market, the volatility. You get the price of oil to go up, and then you get the price of oil to go down, and you've put in the right short, long, short, and somebody's making a whole bunch of money on a regular basis. And Donald Trump, when confronted about it, said, well, the American economy is a casino. No, it's not, Mr. Trump. It's not a casino. The American economy is supposed to be founded on basic economic principles. What do you want to call it? Supply side economics, whatever, what you want to say. There's principles involved. It's not a casino.
It is now. It is now.
Yeah.
Well, that's the thing we see, that there's just a lot of money being made, that it's almost like, well, if we can't win the war, we can win the economic part. If we can't win the war, we can win the lottery of that, because we rigged the lottery. Hey, I had an eye opening when I found out that what was his name? Epstein hit the lottery twice. Did you know that? Once for like 60 million and once for 40 million. So that tells you a little bit about the lottery. Like, he's our guy. What about the lottery? Yeah, you know what? That's $100 million there.
Well, I got an insight of that. My cousin used to do construction in the movie industry in New Mexico. New Mexico has a big movie industry because of the beautiful scenery and everything. So he was the guy who did the sets and all that stuff. And they wanted to give him a bonus once for doing a good job. And I remember the manager of the Hollywood doing the set brought him to a casino, and they brought the casino manager out, and they gave him a stack of coins, and they took him to the machine. And they said, and they sort of talked to each other. They said, cycle this through. And he cycled the coins through, and ding, 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 $20,000. Boom, right there. Payoff. And I went, wait a minute, what? And apparently, though, they monitor all these machines. And they can go in and they can click them. They can make the machine hot. They can make the machine cold. They can make sure the machine never wins. They can, whatever they do. But the machines, it's not even honest. It's a rigged game already, but it's not even honest, because if you get close, they can sit there. There's a room back there where they're saying, this machine's getting ready to go hot. Are we ready for a hot machine? No, we're not. All right. Make it cold. And so, but they went in there. The guy needed a bonus. They gave him a $20,000 bonus by picking the machine that was going to win. It's rigged. It's all rigged. 100%.
And now in the White House, they're just playing. They're playing a rigged lottery. It is. Hello, Garland Nixon here with Scott Ritter, and there's lots going on. AIPAC's defeated Massey. Trump's doing his bi-weekly threat to obliterate Iran. Let's talk.